The Toyota RAV4 is all new for the 2026 model year, and no matter which way you spec yours, it's going to be a hybrid. That's right. For the new generation, the RAV4 has gone hybrid only, and though hybrids are more popular than they ever have been in automotive history, I know that probably has more than a few of y'all kind of wondering what that means for your RAV4, especially if you were considering just getting one that was gas only. Well, is it more expensive? Does it drive any different? Does it actually get better fuel economy? I've got all the answers. Let's dive into it. So if you stick with the standard RAV4 powertrain, you get a traditional hybrid setup as you would in like a Toyota Prius or like the new Camry. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder augmented by at least one electric motor that, in a nutshell, means the gas engine doesn't have to work as hard, which in turn means fuel economy is way up over the prior gas-only model. Now, the front drive RAV4 is rated to an excellent 44 miles per gallon combined against the 30 miles combined of the comparable gas-only model. So yeah, you're going to notice quite a difference at the pump. But compare this to the prior hybrid, which remember was all-wheel drive only, there's a 4 miles per gallon improvement across the board regardless of driven wheels. Now, to the great surprise of many, I'm sure, the new RAV4 drives, well, much like the previous RAV4 hybrid drives, and that's a really good thing. I know both myself and the whole Cars.com team really enjoyed the previous RAV4, both standard and the hybrid. And so that this is kind of a familiar experience is a boon to, well, all consumers. Same platform, it's still Toyota New Global Architecture, TNGA. So it's still kind of got that surprisingly buckled down, agile feel to it. Now it's not necessarily thrilling to drive, but overall it feels composed. You would not be put out if you had to go drive on a mountain road or something like that. But for me personally, my favorite bit is it's got, well, in my opinion, plenty of power. We've got the same 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder across the board. We are in the standard hybrid all-wheel drive, which makes 236 horsepower. Compare that to the previous hybrid all-wheel drive, which made 219 horsepower. Now, if this was the standard front-wheel drive version of the 2026 RAV4, you would have 226 horsepower, which is up 23 horsepower over the standard front-wheel drive gas-only previous RAV4. Very impressive. Now, while there's only a 10 horsepower difference between the front-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive hybrid, I can say, without a doubt, power is perfect for what you would want in a daily driving crossover. Matter of fact, it's more than you need. If you lopped 15 horsepower off this, it'd still be totally fine. But what does this mean if you've never driven a hybrid? You're not going to notice much, really. Matter of fact, if I didn't tell you it was a hybrid, there's a solid chance you might not know the difference. That's a good thing, really good thing. Now, of course, we're just talking about the non-plug-in. That's a whole different animal. But this regular standard hybrid, all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, it doesn't matter. When you step on the accelerator, you still hear the gas engine. There's a satisfying kind of background wave of a little bit of that electric torque. At highway speeds, it's quiet, comfortable. Again, there's really, you're not going to notice much. Now, one of the trickiest parts of the transition for somebody if they've never driven anything electrified, and I am talking also about hybrids, is that the regenerative portion of the brake pedal can feel a little bit touchy, tricky. Not the case here at all. It feels like a normal brake pedal. That's the theme here. This car feels completely, utterly normal. But in this case, you get better fuel economy, more power. Now, this all is dependent on pricing, which as of this video, we don't quite know yet. Not a whole lot different for the way that it drives, and what is different is better. But the same cannot be said about the interior. We are in a fairly loaded limited trim at the moment, so we got all the bells and whistles. And I did not dislike the previous RAV4. I think especially at the higher trims, it was great, totally fine. But it was a little bit long in the tooth for, you know, generational turnover. And this new gen, boy, does it bring it a little bit more to the adventurous, trucky side of the RAV4 spectrum. Stuff's more blocky in here. Like these drive mode, trail mode binnacles that are kind of popping out of the dash. You hit these buttons to, you know, cycle between like normal, eco, sport, and custom, but they're square and they got a nice aggressive like trim on them. I like it. I also like how they've untethered trail and snow mode from the regular drive modes, meaning you can put it in trail mode when you're like in sport. It's kind of nice. It's all trucky in here. It's all square. It's kind of like a mini 4Runner, at least in appearance. You got blocky cup holders. You got a square airbag button on the steering wheel. almost flat bottom. I think a lot of people, this is what the vibe that they would want out of the this next gen RAV4, even if you're not getting like the off-road oriented Woodland. And again, this is kind of loaded, so if you want to kind of add a bunch of stuff to it, you got all the creature comforts. You got dual wireless device charging pads, pretty good. You've got an updated and much larger 12.9-inch optional center infotainment screen here and a 12.3-inch digital driver's display. This is a big improvement over the previous generation's offerings. There's a bunch of cubby holes in here too. You got a relatively deep storage tray underneath the device trays. You've got a one of my personal favorites. You've got a little storage thing here that doubles as the door handle, not the opening door handle, but like, you know, like a grab right here. It's kind of nice. Standard door pockets. Cool part is the center console. I'm going to lift this up right here. You can do double. Yeah, you can take out a tray. You can flip it over. This is the center armrest. Got a hard side here for like wet drinks or dirty stuff, I guess. And it's bi-directional and it's easy to take in and out. That's pretty cool. I like the new electric shifter. It's kind of satisfying to use for the most part, at least as far as electric shifters go. Dual 45-watt USB-C charge ports on either side. 360 to view camera. A nice place to spend some time. Again, the high points here are blocky design. A lot of little storage cubbies to put your stuff in. And if you load it out, nice creature comforts. But let's say you're more interested in the electric side of the equation, but you'd really like an EV to putt around town for groceries and errands and all that kind of stuff, but you'd like the flexibility, convenience, and the long legs of a gas motor just in case you need to go on a road trip or you overextend during some sort of day trip. Well, you sound like the perfect customer for the also updated and also new for 2026 RAV4 plug-in hybrid. So, slightly complicated in theory, but in practice, very easy, very simple to understand, and it's very unsurprising on how it is. So right now I'm in full EV mode, driving around at about 70 miles an hour. And well, if you've driven an EV of any type in the past like 5 years, it kind of drives like that. Actually, there's no kind of about it, it just does. That's how it drives. It is not a quick EV in EV mode only. It's not slow, but it's just normal. Don't expect it, to put you back in your seat in any way, shape, or form. But that's not the point of the EV mode. It's literally for driving around in town, Yeah, depending on your lifestyle and how much you drive a day, you might not have to fill up with gas for months. So we're kind of reaching the end of the range here, so I'm going to kind of switch over to hybrid mode, and lo and behold, now we're in hybrid mode. So now the gas motor is engaged, and I drive it like a normal hybrid. We are in the performance-oriented RAV4 GR Sport. And in hybrid mode, unlike the standard RAV4 hybrid with its 236 horsepower, you have a whopping 320 horsepower, which is up 18 horsepower over the prior plug-in hybrid. Which, to recap, the 0 to 60 of the old plug-in was somewhere in the low 5-second range. This thing's right about there as well. Honestly, the power, I will say, as I did when I first drove the previous plug-in RAV4, it's more, this power and performance is more of a byproduct than like a by design. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, it's just kind of funny. I think it just kind of has that because they said, well, it's not that hard to dial up the power. So a lot of power, relatively speaking, but they've kind of put it to good use in this new generation, because if you may or may not have noticed from these GR badges on the headrest, we're in the RAV4 GR Sport, which is one of 2 specialty trims available on the RAV4. We've got this kind of performance-oriented, better handling. So it's got an upgraded suspension, summer tires if you want, colored brake calipers, increased torsional rigidity across the board, and a whole lot of aesthetic upgrades and different wheels, that kind of stuff. So kind of a fun alternative, If they said, well, we got a RAV4 with that kind of power, might as well make it, a little sporty. Doesn't drive dramatically different from like a standard RAV4 plug-in XSE. But I do like the little design touches here and there. It just kind of feel, a little bit elevated daily commuting. Yeah, don't use it for track work or anything like that, but it's kind of cool. The other specialty trim is, well, kind of totally counter opposite this. It's the RAV4 Woodland, and that's the standard off-roady, adventure-y trim. All-terrain tires, different wheels, embedded Rigid Industries fog lights in the front. Just a little bit extra capability. Forgetting something. I feel like, I don't know, it's like we talked about the powertrain, we talked about what a hybrid is, talked about fuel efficiency, how it drives, plugging in. Pricing, that's what I forgot to talk about. Yes, that's the big one, isn't it? Well, as of this video, Toyota has not given us a full breakdown of what the pricing structure is going to look like for the new generation, but they did confirm it's going to start somewhere in the low 30s, which, if you look at the outgoing 2025 RAV4, the least expensive one you could get was just over $31,000, and if you wanted the hybrid, it was just over $34,000. So from the sound of it, if you consider low 30s to be between $30,000 and $34,000, well, not too bad, especially when you consider the overall improvements to the platform, the interior, extra power, better fuel efficiency. I think that more than offsets at least even a moderate increase. Now, I definitely have some more things to say on the 2026 Toyota RAV4, but for my full thoughts and review, you gotta go to Cars.com/news.